Hello ladies and gentlemen, Spirit of the Law here. I had a recent video with a couple of hardest AIs fighting it out, and I realized in that video I didn't really address the idea that the current AI for HD is different than the one from Age of Conquerors. And I did get a couple of comments from people that made me think that they didn't realize that there is in fact a pretty big difference, and that the AI now for HD is significantly better, or at least that's the consensus around. And what I want to do right now is actually test them against each other and see how they stack up. So the HD AI is the one that just says AI here, and the Age of Conquerors one is going to be called Original AI. So some of you have probably tried this already. Personally, I haven't, and I'm not totally sure how it's going to go, but I have a suspicion of which one's going to win. And we're going to do Hun's mirror match on Arabia, on Tiny. I'm going to have them on hardest as well, standard resources and 200 population, so all the standard settings that they should both be comfortable playing with at least. So the important thing here isn't really which one wins the game, but more how they play and what the differences are between them, and what one of them is able to do that the other one isn't. So let's check it out. So I'm just going to be going through and pointing out some of the differences that they're doing, and we're looking for key strategy differences and which one seems to be stronger and maybe playing more like a human, or if you think there's really a difference at all between them. So the first thing we notice is, you just heard that research sound, so the original AI went for Loom pretty much right away. So having 40 HP, we can tell they got Loom, and our population that was on 8 or 9 villagers, whereas the new AI actually gets Loom significantly later, which theoretically is ideal. It's not a huge difference, but the longer that you can put off Loom, really the better. So that's kind of the first, but that's a pretty small difference. And so far it seems pretty similar. I could put this up so that we see, so we have 5 shepherds and 4 lumberjacks and 3 foragers, and pretty similar, almost identical, just a little bit less, 1 less lumberjack. So very similar builds of getting all the sheep and just throwing them all under the town center, although this is interesting that he's lining them up over here. But pretty similar builds overall, getting those sheep, and of course, if you remember the last battle, the AI certainly loved their berries. A lot of commotion happening underneath that town center. Ideally, they wouldn't be doing that. This is probably the first big difference we notice, is the new AI is in fact luring this boar. So I don't know if you guys knew that they can do that, but they actually can. So now we have the new AI being at, well, we have 17 population, grabbing that villager, and if we go to, are they the same now? Okay, they are the same now, so they must have grabbed Loom. Okay, they did. So they actually caught up in Loom. Whereas we notice the original AI does not grab boar, so it is not going to get that boar, and this one, which would actually be a pretty big pain to get, because you'd have to go around that corner there, but it's not going to get it, doesn't seem to think of that, or be programmed to do that. Which isn't necessarily the end of the world, but that's now 2 things that the new AI is doing differently. It's getting Loom a little bit later, and it's also grabbing those boars as well, which is 700 free food. But like I was saying, that's not necessarily the end of the world for the original AI. You can see it just goes a little bit more heavy onto berries and is going to be putting up more farms whenever it can. Although it's pretty low on wood right now, so it might have to transfer some over to wood, but not too bad. Ideally, you want to lure the boar, but there are ways around that. But again, we're seeing some small advantages for the new AI starting to pop up already, and we're not even at 10 minutes into the game. Another thing I noticed here is that the new AI has 2 lumber camps to spread it out so it doesn't have as much congestion, and we're going to notice it does a much better job of keeping an eye on that sort of thing and getting new drop-off points around the map, whereas the original AI is just going to stick on that one. Another thing we notice is that the original AI is going up, and it's going up at 24 villagers, 25 population, whereas the new AI is still even at 28, so it looks like it's going to be going up on 28 villagers. I would imagine, yeah, it goes up right now. So it is significantly behind, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the original AI is killing this right now, because it just went up on a lower population. And that can suggest a different strategy, more of a feudal kind of strategy, rather than going fast castle, which is what this 28-29 would suggest to me, but it doesn't necessarily have to do that. Just gives you a stronger economy in Feudal as well. We also notice the new AI is taking deer and has a mill over here by the deer. And it seems the original AI has killed the deer and then abandoned it, sent that villager all the way over there, and then just brought it right back. So now as for the original AI, it's hit Feudal Age first, not a terrible time, and ideally it would have a barracks on the way up and then have a military unit or a military building out in order to take advantage of that and get some units. But we see it's going down with the blacksmith and market, which suggests more of a fast castle kind of thing. And we actually notice that the score is surprisingly higher, even though going up on fewer villagers. And it looks like it's saving up because the town center is idle right now, and it should be going up whenever it gets an opportunity. That's, again, not perfect play right now, and you can see that we've had to go very heavily into farms, much more heavily than the new AI because of the lack of boar. But we are going up after idling for a little while there, and if we just check on resources, both are doing a pretty good job of keeping their resources low. I'm curious about the scouting. So we do notice that the new AI has found the base and scouted the base pretty well. Everything's a little bit weird because I had it on explored or to reveal all. And we do notice that the original AI is not doing the best job scouting. It's going in this rectangular form kind of outward, which isn't ideal. It still has no idea where its opponent is, which is going to make it difficult to take advantage of that fast feudal. And we do notice some pressure coming in, which is, I don't know, I wasn't totally expecting this from Red because he went up a little bit later. It's kind of weird to kind of get stuck in the middle there. Though the AI has a really bad habit of just attacking town centers and also bugging out. So that didn't go so well, and probably smartly the new AI is running all of its units back. Unfortunately for Elak the Hun there, Attila has just hit Castle Age and is researching Wheelbarrow right away, right out of the gate. To be honest, if you're just going to go on one lumber camp like that, that's probably not a bad idea to get that as soon as possible. And here we have Red is still a long ways away from going up to the Castle Age. Now ideally, and that wasn't a bad, that's like 17 minutes, ideally we already have a barracks, and we do have a barracks and just getting a stable up now. Ideally that stable would have been up earlier, and we'd have knights coming out right now to really punish Red for being slower to get up to that age. Because to be honest, 3 knights could take out this whole army and really wreak a lot of havoc all over this wood line and all over this really forward gold. And so the question is, what's Attila going to do here, the original AI? So it got there first, it is making a knight, does have the resources pretty soon to put down another town center, and there you see it does do that, so it does know some of these things, and it's not incompetent by any means, and it's actually pretty surprising to me how good these AIs are at doing the logical things, because I mean this AI hasn't really been changed since 2000 or whenever Age of Conquerors came out, so it's pretty good. Although we do see random towers. Towers kind of went out of favor since then. Question is though, what's really happening? So we're at 22 minutes, we've got 4 knights, and yeah, so the new AI didn't really get punished for going up so late and is heading up to castle, and kind of got away with one there. It had a pretty ineffective feudal age attack and just got pushed off easily, and was much slower, about 6 minutes slower, 5 or 6 minutes slower to Castle Age. Although we notice a very big difference here once it hits Castle Age, because here we have Town Center, 2 stables coming down, a siege workshop coming down, already having an archery range, so having 2 archery range, 2 stable, a barracks, another stable back here, and a monastery coming out, and as well as that Town Center right away. Whereas the original AI, I mean, we've got these knights piling up, but we only have the 2 military buildings, and we do have these town centers, and that's good that they're active. And we see these towers coming up in kind of random locations. So it feels like Red actually has the Castle Age army first, and just getting out of the way there in time and just getting that tower up, that's going to be good. So the new AI, even though it's 6 minutes later to Castle Age, has felt no pressure at this point, maybe because the original AI didn't scout it out. Although luckily we do actually have all of these knights, and kind of a smart play here to come around this side and to trap a lot of those here. So actually the momentum, I would say, is swinging in Blue's favor, partially because the new AI Red is throwing away its units. So if we look at this point, 58 population to 65 population, so pretty close. And blue is doing its own attack, and of course, like an AI, it's aiming directly for the town center and fighting under the town center, which is never a good idea. And we're going to see all of these knights coming. Now, right now, I just want to pause it because I feel like this is a pretty big moment in this game. So we have pretty similar scores, kind of 300 difference. Blue did go up first and didn't really seem to take a big advantage of it. Did make the knights and did have a second town center out, but we haven't really gotten anywhere since then and is currently not making any military units. So a couple of favorable exchanges, and it does seem like blue is in control of this game, and that's the original AI. That's not the better one. If we flip to red though, I think we can see that red is set up better right now with more villagers and many more military buildings, and it's not really taking advantage of all of those, but it is taking advantage of some of those and is getting a better variety of units come out. So even though blue seems in control of this game, I feel like red is set up better and has a better overall, I guess we'd say like a macro or a better overall plan here of what it's doing, even if it was a little bit slower to get out. And so as soon as that army gets cleaned up, and this is a really weird forward, I'm not sure what this is all about. I mean, clearly red's gonna see this, but I mean, good try. Maybe he won't notice. Nope, he noticed. Okay, well, so much for that forward. And now all of the momentum, and we have an almost 700 point gap in scores, and all of the momentum is now firmly in red's control. And the question is, what is the original AI going to do? It's certainly floating a lot of resources right now. We're building more towers and a university. University is not a bad idea. And not keeping the villager production going. We are making a knight there, we're not making anything with that, and no other military buildings coming down. We should be using the market to balance this out. I mean, so much gold right now. Kind of a silly amount of gold to have. And a ton of gold miners, still not doing anything about this lumber camp. And just not enough of a reaction here, just a couple of knights coming out. But there's just no reaction from blue. It's like blue did the pre-programmed things and then just doesn't have a backup plan, and right now is not building anything and has no other military buildings coming up and doesn't really seem to have a plan right now, if I were to say, and not even making villagers from this town center, although now it is. Okay, so it's kind of going back and forth, I guess. But there's no real plan. And if we flip over back to red, who's now applying all of the pressure, collecting the relics, we're going to see a little bit more activity, certainly a lot more military buildings, keeping the resources nice and low, and I'm sure we're still making villagers, putting up a third town center. And like I said, collecting relics, that's pretty big. And we're also seeing more lumber camps coming up around the map, so we had those original two, and then also putting some others to try to spread out the economy. And blue is still trying to build another barracks with another villager now. Yeah, but overall, you can see where the difference is coming in these, and that blue is starting off very strong and is actually hitting the next ages faster, and maybe even if it had scouted out, red would have attacked even faster. But I can see why. It's almost like the AI trains you, or at least the Age of Conquerors AI, the blue one, is training you to be a defensive sort of player. And it's just, if you can be defensive, you can easily outboom this AI. And it kind of stops doing anything. Like even right now, its town is under attack. I'm not really seeing anything coming out. We're getting a spearman that's not even upgraded, you know, versus pikemen and all these units. So it's not keeping up on technologies, it's not doing anything with its advantage when it has it, it's not building the units that it needs. Where it seems like red is still plowing on, it's still putting up another town center, still building more farms, and obviously that would be tough for blue right now in this situation. But blue has so many resources here right now. I mean, why are we not even making knights? Like, what are we saving this food and gold for? Like, what's the point of that? I just feel like it loses a lot of momentum, this old AI, especially once it gets attacked and, you know, it has that strong beginning, but then it doesn't really have anywhere to go. Whereas it feels like the new AI is carrying through and still doing all of those things. And it might be that the original AI was made for 75 population games or something like that. So something like that would actually make sense, since a lot of the campaigns are 75 population. And so it stops villagers earlier and it keeps its armies significantly lower. And we're putting up defensive towers. I mean, that's the wrong reaction. And we have a castle in the middle of nowhere. You know, there probably was a point that castle out front here, in front of the town center and the gold, would have done something, or at least helped. But we are well past that point and making new town center rebuilding in a bad location, of course. Where is it? We check out the new AI. Still doing everything. We're still seeing units coming out here, which is great. Going into scouts, that's kind of weird. And maybe it's going to upgrade those at some point. Yes, upgrade them to light cavalry. Okay, that makes sense. And still more town centers. That's crazy. Although it has gotten to the point where almost pop capped, and it's going Imperial Age. So a much stronger economy, a much better follow through. I would say it seemed to always have a purpose, and this is why I think it's a lot easier to beat the new AI, the red one, if you can learn how to rush and if you have a solid rush down. Because it just seems to pick up more and more momentum, and it can actually outboom a human player pretty easily. Whereas if you're against the original AI, it kind of seems like just wall up and play defensive and survive the first 30 minutes, and it's almost like it stops playing. I don't know if it's going to do that every time, but it seems like it's playing a lot less and is even now not even making military units with definitely the resources to do it, although that's going to be more difficult now that it's losing its buildings. The other thing is this original AI is very spiteful. It still hasn't resigned despite the fact that it's being almost tripled in score and has a market and a couple of random towers. At least it knows to build them on hills, right? Like that's actually kind of smart. But this is not going to end well for our friend Attila the Hun. So again, so those things early on, getting the loom a little bit later is the new AI, as well as getting the boar, doing a better job scouting. It did a lot of immediate action, making units in town centers, hitting the castle age, more military buildings. It seemed to be, in general, just more active and having a more varied unit composition, and not doing these silly towers everywhere as well, and doing things like building new lumber camps to keep its economy stronger and continuing to make villagers, and just overall seem to have a better reaction to everything as we see the resignation. And of course it was because you couldn't build a wonder. It is true. I think I had it on, I don't even know where it is. I don't see it. I think I had it on Conquest. Oh no, it's a standard game. Hey, you could have built a wonder. Oh, what a liar. Man, caught red-handed. Attila. Yeah. Well, I don't know what to say about that. Okay, so the new AI definitely won there, and if we just want to check this, check it out. I like that it didn't stop building an army. A lot of real players would have stopped, but that's what sets you up for people making comebacks, is when you kind of ease off the gas pedal there. So I like that it kept doing that, and pretty good economy. Didn't go as all out into stone, but then again, the new AI doesn't really seem to prioritize towers at all, actually. I'm kind of surprised the original AI didn't wall at all. And so you can see here, you know, a faster time doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be in a stronger position. For example, in this case, the original AI went up much faster, but had a weaker economy, so wasn't able to do very much with that, and did even hit the castle age much faster on account of not building any units, but again, didn't really do anything with that advantage. And if we look at the villager high, they stopped at 58, and going right through to 130, which is, yeah, that seemed right. And also not collecting relics. Did they even build a monastery? I don't think Blue even built a monastery. So just to reiterate, neither version is cheating for extra resources. Only in the Age of Kings version had the AI been getting the extra free resources, and this was the Conquerors version against the HD version. So if the new AI is that much better, now I'm wondering, how does it compare to a human player? In the next video, I'm going to start another game with the same settings, and this time I'll be playing against the new AI on hardest, 1 vs 1, and we'll see if I can avenge the honor of the original AI and beat the new one. But that's all for this one. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.